Okay, let's just dive right into this. What if I told you that turning a rough, hand-drawn paper sketch, like literally a doodle on a napkin, into a fully interactive, glowing 3D object isn't some distant sci-fi dream anymore? No, it's something that can happen right this very second. Welcome to our explainer on Google Antigravity 2.0. Think about how this used to work just, a short time ago. If you had an idea for an interactive 3D model, you were looking at a massive roadblock. You'd have to go out and hire a specialized 3D modeler, potentially shell out thousands of dollars, and then wait weeks, just to see a rough, barely functional prototype. The friction between having that spark of an idea and actually seeing it come to life was huge. But today? Well, today we're looking at a system that takes a literal napkin sketch of a human heart, complete with some hastily drawn arrows, and instantly translates that into a rotating, clickable, fully interactive 3D model. We've spent years talking about AI coding assistants, sure, but as we're going to see throughout this explainer, the latest update from Google doesn't just assist you, it completely changes the game. So stay with me, because this one is absolutely going to permanently shift how you think about building things from scratch. Because what we're witnessing here is a massive paradigm shift. Think about it. On one side, we have a simple napkin sketch. It's an idea in its rawest, most unpolished form, right? And on the exact opposite side, we have this incredible interactive 3D reality. We aren't just asking AI, hey, can you help me write a few lines of code, or can you debug this script for me really quick? No. The new question we get to ask is, can you autonomously execute my entire creative vision from start to finish while I just describe what I want? And the answer Google Antigravity 2.0 gives us is a resounding 100% yes. It's a massive leap from being a mere co-pilot to basically acting as an entire production studio right at your fingertips. You're no longer just a coder anymore. You are the visionary.
So let's move right into Section 1, the core update, Agents in Parallel. So how does it actually pull this off? Let's open up the hood and take a look at the engine room of Antigravity 2.0. To make this huge leap, Google had to completely rebuild the platform from the ground up, basically transforming it into what is essentially a multi-agent command center. And this fundamentally breaks down the difference in how you work. Think about the old workflow. You had an idea, you opened an editor, you wrote the code, you inevitably hit a bug, you debugged it, you built it, and then finally you deployed it. Every single step of that process was entirely on your shoulders. It was a single-player game. I mean, we've all been there, right? Staring at a screen at 2 a.m., your eyes burning, desperately trying to figure out why a single missing semicolon is crashing your entire application, with absolutely no one around to help you untangle the mess. But under this new workflow, that isolation is completely gone. You simply describe your goal. From there, Antigravity spins up an entire team of Gemini-powered AI agents. One agent plans the architecture, another builds the interface, someone else handles the content, and yet another runs all the tests. And the absolute crucial point here is that they don't wait around for each other. They work in parallel lanes, designing, building, and testing simultaneously until the output matches exactly what you described.
Let's break down the core features that are actually making this possible. Now, the standout capability is definitely these multiple parallel agents working together. But to keep that from just descending into total chaos, Antigravity 2.0 introduces background automation and project workspaces. What this means is that tasks keep running even when you step away from your keyboard, and everything stays perfectly organized. But honestly, my absolute favorite feature here is the artifact tracking. When you have multiple AI agents generating code simultaneously, things can, occasionally go off the rails. If an agent hallucinates a random line of code or implements a strange logic flow, you need to know exactly how it happened. Well, the artifact tracking system literally leaves a clear step-by-step paper trail of everything the agents built and, crucially, why they built it. It gives you this fully auditable history of the machine's thought process, which is just incredible. And Google made sure there's a lane for everyone here. If you're a designer who has never even looked at a line of code, the clean interface works perfectly for you. But if you're a hardcore developer, don't worry. They've included a command line interface and an SDK, so you have full programmatic control to build your very own custom agent workflows.
Moving along to Section 2, Practical Workflows Building Reality.
Okay, let's pivot from the theory to some concrete proof, because it's one thing to talk about multi-agent command centers, but it's a completely different thing to actually see it in action. Let's walk through some real-world practical workflows that demonstrate exactly how this pipeline transforms everyday ideas into deployed projects. We're going to call this first one the teacher workflow. So imagine Sarah. She's a high school biology teacher with absolutely zero coding experience. In step 1, she defines her goal in plain English. She literally just types, create an interactive 3D model of the human heart for high school biology students, include anatomical labels, and a simple blood flow animation. That's it. Step 2, the agents instantly plan their moles. One tackles the 3D geometry, one builds the buttons and user interface, one gathers the educational content, and another tests it all. Then, step 3, Sarah just sits back and watches the artifacts build in real time right there in her workspace. A 3D checkpoint appears, then a UI prototype pops up, then a draft of the educational text. It is literally like watching a symphony orchestra construct software right in front of your eyes. And that brings us to step 4, which is honestly where the true magic of the refinement process happens. You don't have to just accept the first draft. Once that initial version is done, you essentially step into the role of the creative director. You're no longer the mechanic with your hands covered in grease under the hood of the car, right? You are the conductor guiding the orchestra. You just type something super simple like, make the interface simpler, add a pulsing animation, and boom. Antigravity automatically routes your feedback to the correct agents. The design agent tweaks the UI, while the 3D agent adds the pulsing animation. You haven't touched a single line of code. You are simply iterating incredibly fast by giving high-level creative feedback, and you're letting the agents handle all the microscopic technical execution. Now, let's look at another angle with what we'll call the entrepreneur workflow. Step 1, you upload a sketch. Say you have this rough, messy paper drawing of a new smart home hub. You snap a quick picture, upload it, and prompt the system to build a product visualization website with a rotating 3D model. Step 2 is the agent breakdown. The system automatically deploys agents for web layout, 3D modeling, and animation using your sketch as the ultimate context. Step 3, you iterate fast. If it doesn't look quite right, you just tell it, hey, make it look more premium, maybe use a dark background. And finally, step 4, export and deploy. And guys, this is where it gets truly wild. Fully deployed doesn't just mean you get a zipped folder full of code that you then have to go figure out how to host yourself. No. The system can handle the entire hosting pipeline, instantly generating a live, public URL for your project. You seamlessly transform that rough paper drawing into a fully deployed, rotating 3D product website that is ready to text to investors or share on social media. We are talking about going from a napkin to a live, global prototype in minutes. Insane, right?
All right, section 3, reality check, where the edges are.
Okay, it's time for a quick reality check. Because honestly, I believe the absolute fastest way to lose trust is to pretend a new tool is just flawless magic. And it's not. Let's step back for a second and honestly discuss the limitations, because knowing exactly where the edges are is how you actually master a tool like this. There are definitely friction points you need to be aware of. First up, complexity ceilings. Antigravity 2.0 is brilliant with well-defined tasks, but if your prompt is super ambiguous or too open-ended, you're going to experience agent drift. They might produce inconsistent artifacts or just get totally stuck in a loop. The old rule of garbage in, garbage out still absolutely applies here, for sure. Second is the debugging layer. When a build breaks mid-process across multiple parallel agents, untangling that error and finding the root cause is, well, it's a massive headache. It's exactly like untangling a mess of headphone wires from your pocket. You have to carefully trace the thread all the way back. And third, there is an SDK learning curve. For developers looking to use the SDK to build complex, custom workflows, be prepared to put in the hours. Managing asynchronous AI agents requires an entirely new type of logic. You aren't just writing linear functions anymore. You are orchestrating independent digital workers that might hallucinate or fail at random intervals. So it is not a simple plug-and-play experience. It requires serious time and patience to really master. Which brings us to section 4, the big picture, vision over skill. Now, despite those limitations we just talked about, this tool introduces a massive, massive philosophical shift to the broader landscape of both technical and creative work. We really need to look at what this means for the future of how we create things. For decades, the old bottleneck was technical skill. It was always, can I actually write the code to build this? But today, with tools like Antigravity 2.0, that bottleneck has completely moved. The new bottleneck is clarity of vision. The primary barrier to building incredible things is no longer your ability to write perfect syntax. It's your ability to clearly, specifically, and effectively describe what you want. Let's really drive home this powerful thesis. The bottleneck is no longer skill. It's vision. If there is one single thing you take away from this explainer today, let it be this. The individuals who succeed in the next decade won't necessarily be the fastest typists or the people who memorize the most code libraries. No. They're going to be the people who master the skill of directing these AI agents. If you can clearly articulate your vision and manage an autonomous team of AI builders, you will suddenly possess the output capacity of an entire development studio, all by yourself. So you might be wondering, how do you adapt to this new reality? Well, you need to start practicing prompt engineering right now. You need to cultivate systems thinking. Stop focusing entirely on memorizing specific programming languages and start learning how to break massive, complex problems down into small, highly descriptive, and logical steps.
Which leads me to this final question for you. What would you build? Seriously, think about it. If technical skill was no longer an obstacle holding you back, what is the very first thing you would create? I genuinely want to know. So please like, share, and subscribe, please, and drop a comment in comment box. Thank you so much for joining me to explore Google Antigravity 2.0 today, and I will see you in the next one.